When the van pulled up to the hotel entrance and everyone started climbing out with sun hats and duffel bags, I thought it was just the jet lag making me see things. Or not see them, I guess, because Harper wasn't there. I scanned the group. My husband Elijah had just stepped out, stretching after the 12-hour journey. My in-laws, Mel and Carl, were already arguing about the room upgrades. My niece Bella was filming herself walking through the grand marble entrance like she was on a red carpet, while her little brother Aaron kept tugging on her sleeve. But no Harper. I waited another few seconds, thinking maybe she was still in the van, maybe she'd fallen asleep. But when the driver slammed the back door shut and waved goodbye, a cold chill slid down my spine. Elijah noticed it too. He glanced around, frowning. "Where's Harper?" His words landed like a dropped plate, shattering whatever calm I had left. Mel didn't even look up from her phone. "Oh, she stayed back at the transfer stop. Something about misplacing her passport." Carl chimed in, like it was nothing. "She said she'd catch the next shuttle. It's all fine." I blinked. "The transfer stop? You mean the one in Amman? The one in Jordan?" Bella sighed without breaking her stride. God, she was being so dramatic. Kept saying the border checkpoint looked sketchy and that she felt unsafe. Aaron laughed. "She freaked out over some security guard with a rifle. Like, what did she expect? It's the Middle East." I turned to Elijah. He was already pulling out his phone, his shoulders tensed. I could see the soldier in him awakening, the part that understood how fast things could turn south. "She doesn't have her passport?" I asked again, slowly, trying to wrap my head around what I was hearing. "She lost it," Carl shrugged. "It happens. She's 17. She'll figure it out." "She didn't lose it," I said, my voice tightening. "I handed it to her before we boarded in Atlanta. She put it in her crossbody bag. I watched her do it." Mel cut in, waving her hand. "Can we not start drama the minute we arrive? We're finally here. The hotel looks amazing. Let's just relax, okay?" Elijah's phone buzzed. Nothing. No signal. Mine either. We both tried calling. Voicemail. Straight to disconnect. "She's alone," I said, to no one in particular. "In a foreign country, with no passport, no SIM card that works here, no embassy nearby, and no adult." "You're overreacting," Bella muttered, rolling her eyes. "She literally told us she didn't want to come through Jordan, like she thought something bad would happen." My throat burned. And now something has happened. Carl laughed a little, like this was all some mildly inconvenient sitcom plot. "Listen, we had 2 layover options. One was in London with a 6-hour delay. The other was Amman with a 3-hour stop and a shuttle through the desert. This one was cheaper. We saved almost $400 a person." Elijah turned to him, voice quiet but firm. "You rerouted through a danger zone to save a few $100? Carl shrugged. "Look, there were open seats. It worked out. Harper will figure it out." "No," I said, "we will figure it out." Because I knew my daughter. She was smart, cautious, the kind of teenager who triple-checks TSA guidelines and carries hand sanitizer in 4 different scents. She didn't just lose anything. And she sure as hell didn't agree to be left behind in a country she had begged us not to transit through. Elijah was already typing, trying to locate Wi-Fi, searching for hotel landlines, anything. I pulled out my laptop and opened our travel documents. This wasn't just a miscommunication. This was abandonment, and someone was lying. I don't know what I was expecting, maybe a hint of guilt, a flicker of discomfort, or at the very least, the kind of awkward silence people fall into when they know they've messed up. But instead, when I asked again why we were even routed through Jordan in the first place, Mel smiled. "Your dad found a deal," she said proudly. "The airline didn't even list it on the main site, but he called and asked directly. The rep said there were limited seats on an alternate route through Amman, and Carl jumped on it." Carl beamed like he'd just won a game show. "Saved us almost $1,600 as a group, and it shaved off a connection. It was a no-brainer." I stared at them. "So you rerouted an entire family trip through an unstable region to save money?" "Unstable?" Carl scoffed. "Don't be dramatic, it was just a stopover." "She never made it past the stopover," Elijah said quietly, staring at his phone, eyes scanning the slow-loading map. Mel folded her arms. "Well, she said she'd stay near the info desk. She's a smart girl, she'll be fine." I turned to Bella. "Did she say anything else before she disappeared?" Bella rolled her eyes, shifting her weight like I was boring her. "I don't know. She was being intense about the trip, kept pulling up those TikToks about female travelers being targeted, saying stuff like, 'Do you guys even know where we're going?' She let out a fake gasp. "Oh no, the Middle East has problems? Who would have guessed?" Aaron, standing behind her, snorted. "She even asked if we could avoid military checkpoints, like we had any say." I felt Elijah's hand wrap around my elbow, grounding me. "What's the name of the shuttle company?" he asked. "The one from Amman to here." Carl paused. I I don't remember. It was one of the cheaper ones, not the airport list. Something local. I have the receipt somewhere. My heart dropped. Cheaper, local, unlisted, of course. I opened my travel folder again and stared at the printed itinerary I'd given everyone before the trip. My itinerary. It said, flight path, ATL, LHR, DXB, no Jordan, no road transfer, no land routes, but they'd tossed it and replaced it without telling me. You rerouted us without even mentioning it? I said, my voice tight. Mel looked exasperated. It's not like it's a big deal. It was only a few hours on the ground. Which is exactly when you left my daughter behind, I snapped. Elijah finally looked up from his phone. I've got a number for the Amman Airport's Lost and Found, and the U.S. Embassy hotline for Jordan. But there's no embassy near Aqaba. That's hours away. She's on her own if she's not in the capital. No one spoke. I turned back to Carl. What happened during the transfer? Tell me exactly. He hesitated. She said something about feeling sick. I think the checkpoint made her nervous. She asked to stay in the van, Bella added lazily. We said no. Then she said she'd walk to the terminal. Next thing I knew, she was gone. And you just left her? Elijah asked, the disbelief in his voice barely masked. Carl's face hardened. She's 17. She insisted she was fine. And we weren't about to miss our shuttle because of one person being dramatic. That one person is your granddaughter, I said. Mel held up a hand. All right, let's not turn this into an attack. She's old enough to travel solo. You coddle her too much. Maybe she needs this. Figure things out on her own. Figure things out. In a region she begged us not to visit. Without a passport. Without a phone signal. Without a plan. Something clenched behind my ribcage. I had thought this trip would bring us together. It was my idea to book the resort, pay for the rooms, treat the whole family to something special after Elijah's promotion. I wanted Harper to feel included again, after years of being brushed off and misunderstood. I thought, stupidly, that shared laughter and good food would be enough to fix all the cracks. But I hadn't realized the cracks were intentional. This wasn't about a forgotten passport or a rerouted itinerary. This was something else, something colder. I stepped away, opened my laptop again, and began scanning flight sites. If she was still in Amman, we had options. If she'd been left at the border checkpoint like I feared, then we were in another kind of trouble. I'll go, Elijah said beside me. You stay here, monitor from this end. I'll find her. I nodded. Because someone had to go back, and someone had to stay and cut the strings. I must have called her phone 30 times, maybe more. Each time the same result. No signal. Call failed. Try again later. I told myself she was okay, that she'd find a quiet corner in the terminal. Maybe some kind-hearted traveler would help her connect to Wi-Fi. But I also knew where we had left her, a roadside checkpoint in the middle of nowhere. No hotels, no transit security, just dust, armed guards, and a local vendor with a pushcart of boiled corn. Still nothing? Elijah asked, halfway into packing his go-bag. I shook my head. Then it rang. A hollow, staticky tone, one ring too. And then, Mom? I nearly dropped the phone. Harper? Oh my God, are you okay? Where are you? A pause. Her voice was scratchy and faint, but unmistakably hers. I've been trying to call. Nothing worked. The Wi-Fi here is trash. My SIM won't load. I couldn't message anyone. I thought my phone was broken. I inhaled like I'd just surfaced from underwater. It's okay. I'm here. I've got you. Listen, your dad's flying out. He'll be there by morning. He's bringing your passport. Silence. Then, you found it? My stomach sank. I closed my eyes. In Bella's carry-on, I said gently, tucked behind her cosmetics bag. Harper didn't respond at first. Then came a sound I won't forget. A low, broken exhale that wasn't quite a sob. It was something between betrayal and confirmation. Like grief had just caught up to truth and collided in her chest. I knew it, she whispered. I told them I had it. I checked like 5 times before we got out of the van. I even asked Bella to hold it while I used the bathroom. She said okay. My grip tightened around the phone. I believe you, Harper, I believe you. I told them I didn't feel safe. I begged them not to take that route. I showed them government travel advisories, TikToks, Reddit threads. I said it wasn't safe for girls, especially girls alone, especially girls who look like me. Her voice cracked. They laughed, said I was paranoid, that I watched too much internet. I blinked hard, forcing back a wave of heat behind my eyes. Where are you now? I asked. I'm still in the terminal. I didn't leave. The moment they drove off, I panicked. I told a janitor I was waiting for someone. I found a little corner cafe and sat down like I belonged there. I haven't moved. Some guy asked if I was married. Another one said he could fix my documents if I did him a favor. My entire body went rigid. You did the right thing. You stayed calm. You survived. There was a quiet sniff on the other end. I didn't think they'd really leave me, she said. I mean, I was scared, but I didn't think. Her voice dropped. They always made me feel like the problem, too cautious, too opinionated, too sensitive. You're not the problem, I said. You never were. That family just didn't deserve the way you showed up for them. Elijah zipped up his bag behind me. I turned to him. She's at the terminal. She's holding on, but barely. He nodded once. I'll get her. I turned back to the screen and opened the hotel's group booking portal. My fingers hovered for only a second. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Kendra's suite, Carl and Mel's adjoining room, Bella and Aaron's deluxe, gone, every last one. I had generously prepaid for the week, thought a shared ocean view might somehow rebuild what years of dismissiveness had chipped away. But now I understood. Some bridges weren't meant to be repaired, they were meant to be burned. You okay? Elijah asked, passport and wallet in hand. I'm done being nice, I said. I'm reclaiming my generosity. He kissed my forehead. She's not alone anymore, he whispered. And as he walked toward the elevator, I turned back to the screen. Their return flights were still editable. Let's see how clever they are when they have to navigate their own way home. In basic economy, middle seat, no snacks, 3 layovers. Because if they thought leaving my daughter behind was just a stopover, they were about to learn what abandonment really feels like. It started at 7:03 a.m. with a knock that echoed like judgment down the tiled hallway. 3 quick pounds, a pause. Then another series, louder, sharper, like whoever was knocking believed sheer volume could reverse consequences. I stepped out of our suite just as a staff member from the front desk turned the corner, flanked by 2 security guards in navy polos and discreet earpieces. Their faces were polite, but firm. From 2 doors down, I heard Carl's voice rise in a mixture of confusion and offense. You can't just cancel our booking like that. We have children with us. A younger voice, Bella maybe, cut in, whiny and defiant. This is a 5-star resort. What are we supposed to do, sleep on the beach? The staff member remained calm. Sir, as previously stated, your group reservation was canceled by the primary cardholder. Checkout was scheduled for 10 a.m. yesterday. We've extended a courtesy window. But at this point, you will need to vacate the premises, or we will be required to notify local authorities. More shouting, a suitcase zipped, someone cursed. I stood still in the hallway for a moment, just listening. It was surreal. I had spent years being the one to smooth things over. The translator, the peacemaker, the wallet. Now I was the storm, and for once I wasn't sorry. Last night they'd tried to knock on my door too. Carl banged first, entitled and angry. Mel followed with her classic look of wounded disappointment, the kind that said you're breaking the family apart. Kendra, arms folded, called me cruel. They said I was punishing everyone for a simple mistake. But there was nothing simple about it. Harper hadn't just been forgotten. She was intentionally left behind, a teenager, in a volatile region, and her passport wasn't lost, it was taken, hidden, by Bella, with Kendra's knowledge. And Carl and Mel? They had known hours before boarding. They said nothing. They joked about it. They thought it was funny. So no, I wasn't punishing them. I was removing support from people who had weaponized my generosity. The hallway grew quiet again, just the sound of a rolling suitcase and a muttered, "This is so unfair." I walked back inside and shut the door. Elijah had already landed in Amman. His first message had come through an hour ago. I see her. She's okay, shaken, but okay. A second message came minutes later. She knew you'd come. That was the only confirmation I needed. I sat at the desk with my laptop and opened the airline portal. Their return flights were still valid, but only for a few more hours. I clicked Edit, changed all tickets to standby economy, added 2 extra layovers, removed meal service, and deleted the priority assistance Carl always insisted on for his sciatica. I didn't even blink. If they wanted to save money so badly, let them feel what it costs. My phone buzzed again. This time, a message from Bella in the family group chat. This new hotel sucks, no AC, the pool's full of screaming kids, can we please come back now? I muted the thread. Later that afternoon, a text from a distant cousin arrived. Your mom said there was a misunderstanding. What happened? Is Harper all right? I stared at the screen for a few seconds, then typed back. They rerouted the trip through Jordan to save money. Bella hid Harper's passport. They left her at a checkpoint. She was stranded, alone. No emoji, no flourish, no softening, just truth. The reply came 20 minutes later. Oh, and then nothing. I guess it hits different when you say it out loud. That night, I booked a massage for Harper and dinner on the sand for just the 3 of us. Elijah and our daughter would be back in the morning. We'd stay an extra week, no guilt, no noise, just healing. Because while they were shouting at hotel staff and scrambling for last-minute rooms, we were rebuilding something they never bothered to protect. They didn't reach out at first. Not when the bookings vanished. Not when their flights were downgraded to center seats on 28-hour routes through Istanbul and Detroit. Not even when the hotel manager gave them a printed receipt reading, refund unavailable, non-transferable. But once Harper posted a soft, sun-kissed photo on her private account, her book on her lap, Elijah's arm in the frame, the ocean shimmering behind her, they remembered how to spell my name. The first message came from Mel, through Facebook Messenger of all places. "We're worried about you, about Harper. Things got out of hand. Can we talk? Heart emoji." I didn't respond. An hour later, Carl texted directly. "I know you're upset, but we need to be adults about this. Don't let one misunderstanding ruin decades of family." One misunderstanding. That's what they were calling it now. Harper being stranded without ID in a foreign country, harassed by strangers, cut off from us, was now just a momentary whoops. I blocked Carl. Then came Kendra, voice note form, because of course she didn't have time to type. "You know Bella didn't mean it like that. She's a kid. Kids do dumb things. And okay, maybe I should have said something earlier, but you really blindsided us. Savannah cried when we had to change hotels. Is that what you wanted?" The same Savannah who laughed at Harper's panic? I didn't reply. They started circling next, texting Elijah, messaging Harper's school counselor, even commenting on old Instagram posts with passive-aggressive emojis and "hope everything is okay" energy. They weren't worried about Harper. They were worried about what this looked like. And then came the call from my mom. I didn't answer at first, but she left a voicemail, and curiosity got the better of me. Her voice was clipped, carefully measured. "I heard you stopped the insurance payments. I just need to confirm before I call the pharmacy again. If this is your way of punishing us, it's not going to change anything." I called her back, once, short. "Hi, Mom. Yes, we're not paying anymore." Pause. "What do you mean? You always cover the family plan, since 2016. "I know, and now I don't." She sucked in a breath like I'd slapped her. "You're just going to abandon us?" There it was, the word again, abandon. Funny how it only mattered when they were the ones left to figure it out. "I didn't abandon anyone," I said evenly. "I just stopped bankrolling cruelty." "You're overreacting." "No," I said, "I'm finally reacting. That's the difference." She hung up. The next day, my uncle texted me a Bible verse. My cousin shared a meme about forgiveness. A friend of Carl's wife commented, "Family is everything," under a photo of Harper and me by the water. It was all noise. Harper hadn't said much since coming back. She was calm, almost eerily so. But that calm felt earned, not forced. She laughed with Elijah, read for hours by the pool, let herself nap in the sun. And at dinner that night, while cutting into grilled snapper, she looked up and asked, "Do you think they even realize what they did?" I looked at her for a long moment. "They realize," I said. "They just don't want to admit it, because then they'd have to feel it." She nodded, then went back to her plate. That's when I realized something had changed, not just in them, but in me. I didn't feel guilty anymore. Not about the bookings, not about the flights, not even about the health insurance or the paused tuition payment for Bella's gap year abroad that I'd quietly canceled that morning. Guilt had been replaced with clarity, and in that clarity I saw the boundary lines drawn in permanent ink. Not loud, not angry, just firm. We flew home on a Tuesday. No send-off messages, no hugs in the airport, no safe travels from the people who once called themselves family. Just the three of us, me, Harper, and Elijah, standing in a quiet terminal, our carry-ons lined up like sentinels behind us. Harper leaned into my shoulder mid-flight and slept for nearly 7 hours. She didn't stir when the beverage cart rolled by, or when a baby cried 3 rows up. It was the first deep sleep she'd had since the trip started. I watched her chest rise and fall, her curls pushed up by the headrest, and I felt something slide into place in me. Not rage, not even relief, just resolve. Back home, the voicemails were waiting, 13 of them. Carl had tried twice. Mel had left a 3-minute ramble about forgiveness and miscommunication. Kendra, predictably, had sent one filled with sarcasm and wounded pride. "So what now? We're just cut off forever because your kid couldn't keep track of a passport?" I deleted everyone, not out of spite, but because none of them deserved access to our peace. The insurance company sent confirmation of the policy closures. The credit card companies updated the frozen family accounts I'd once co-signed. The Airbnb for Bella's volunteer semester in Portugal had been canceled, automatically, when the payment method failed to process. I didn't post anything about it online. I didn't make a speech or a dramatic "I'm done" message. I just stopped. And that silence, the kind that isn't bitter or loud, just clear, was what finally made them panic. A week later, Mel showed up at my office. I was on a call with a vendor when the receptionist buzzed. "There's a woman here who says she's your mother-in-law. She won't leave." I walked out, clipboard still in hand. She stood by the front desk, holding a reusable coffee cup, her smile brittle, her eyes searching. "I just want to talk," she said. "I don't," I replied. "Not here, not now, not anymore." She tried to laugh. This isn't like you. You're the fixer. I said. But I stopped fixing things that weren't broken because of me. Her smile dropped. I know you think we made a mistake, but it wasn't a mistake, I said. It was a decision. You all made it, and now I've made mine. She didn't follow me when I turned and walked back into my office, and she hasn't tried again since. Weeks passed. The fall leaves changed. Harper started her senior year. Elijah returned to work on base. And I found myself smiling, not because everything was perfect, but because I had finally stopped living like peace was something I had to earn. Some days, the guilt still knocked, soft and familiar. I'd hear Bella's name in a conversation and feel the phantom itch of responsibility creep in, but it never stayed long. Because Elijah was right. You know what guilt really is? He told me once, leaning against the kitchen counter. It's the echo of boundaries that should have been set a long time ago. And now that I had finally set them, the echo was fading. We didn't need an apology to move forward. We just needed the courage to stop circling back to places that never saw our worth. Maybe I was petty. Maybe canceling the hotels and the flights and the dental coverage was a little over the top. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the only way they would ever understand even a sliver of what Harper endured. They left her in fear and isolation, and when she told them it wasn't okay, they laughed, they dismissed, they minimized. And now in return they get exactly what they gave her: absence, silence, irrelevance. So no, I didn't yell, I didn't burn the house down, I didn't scream in anyone's face or slam a single door. I just walked away. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. Sometimes walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means you finally learn to stop watering what refuses to grow. I didn't yell, I didn't beg, I didn't try to make them understand. I simply chose peace over performance. And in doing so, I gave my daughter the one thing they never offered her: protection without conditions. If you've ever stayed too long, kept quiet too often, or bent yourself out of shape for people who never met you halfway, let this be your reminder. You don't owe anyone your silence just because they share your last name. Family is not about blood. It's about who shows up when it matters, who listens without belittling, who protects without asking for applause. If this story resonated with you, I hope it gives you the strength to draw your own lines, softly, firmly, and without guilt. Share your thoughts in the comments below. You never know who might need to hear your story too. And if you believe in quiet strength, in justice delivered not with anger but with clarity, hit subscribe and join us here at Sweet Revenge Happy Ending. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply choosing peace and never looking back.